Hey everybody, welcome back to Whiteboard Finance. In today's video, I'm going to explain to you why you are in a rich country, but you don't feel like you're getting rich. In fact, you may actually feel like you're getting left behind. America, for this video, is the richest country the world has ever seen, and we just keep getting richer. However, midway through 2025, the Federal Reserve estimates total household wealth in the U.S. at just $170 trillion, as you can see right here from this chart where my cursor is in the top right. So that's more money than any civilization in history, and yet most Americans don't feel rich. So what's going on? Let's break this down. So when it comes to the wealth, United States is the envy of the world. However, this chart is stacked, so you can see how it's grown since 1990. If you look at the bottom left-hand side, 1990 is basically the x-axis, and then you have trillions of dollars of wealth on the y-axis. For those of us that didn't go to middle school, the x-axis is the one that goes left to right. The y-axis is the one that goes up and down. So basically, this chart is stacked. So each color's thickness represents how much wealth that group holds. So the total height shows the overall U.S. wealth, which is around 170. So around 1990, total wealth was around $25 trillion, with most of it held by the top 10%. By 2025, it exceeded 150, again, 170 trillion. And that growth is actually the steepest because it shows most of it being held by the 0.1%. Okay, so what's happening here? So as you can see here, the bottom 50% hasn't really grown all that much over the past 35 years. It's the yellow line here right at the bottom. The reason for that is because if you watch my last video, these are people that are literally living paycheck to paycheck in generational poverty, okay? This is at least 2 generations here in this chart that you're seeing. The reason for that is because even if they have enough knowledge here in my garage next to my Lamborghini and all my books, here in my YouTube studio, even if you have the knowledge of knowing what to do with index funds, precious metals, real estate, Bitcoin, investing, whatever, you may not have the means to do so. That's why these people never get ahead. But the real concerning one is actually this dark line, which is actually the 0.1%, and also the light green line, which is the 99 to 99.9%. So if you take a look at this survey right here, you can see that in a recent article in the Telegraph, they compared American and British households. So this gap is insane. So we're going to go across the pond to our paler, uglier, terrible cuisine, terrible weather, expensive, overpriced cousins in the UK. And 40% of U.S. households have at least $94,000 in disposable income after taxes. Only 10% of British households hit that level, okay? So the top 10% in the U.S. have over $205,000 in disposable income, more than double the same group in the UK, okay? That's a lot of fish and chips.
Bruh.
Terrible. Yeah, their food's terrible. I don't care. So the data clearly says America is loaded. Yes, we are. But when you scroll through social media, you read the headlines or you talk to your friends, nobody feels wealthy. Why is that? Well, it all starts where you live. Obviously, that matters because some places are more expensive than others. So there's a chart here from MERIC, M-E-R-I-C. You guys can look this up yourself. That's the Missouri Economic Research and Information Center. They rank states by cost of living, and surprise, surprise, look at California, New York, Massachusetts, and Hawaii. They're obviously going to be some of the most expensive places to live in the country, if not the world. So yeah, if you're making 200 grand in San Francisco, it might feel like $80,000 in Ohio, okay? So living in a quote unquote rich area can actually make you feel poor because your neighbors set the benchmark. You are dealing with people that are working in tech, people that have high paying salaries, people that have started companies, people that have venture capital funding, either their startup or the company that they work for, and then everything in between, you know, healthcare professionals, all that stuff. So again, be careful to keep up with the Joneses, but also be careful where you live. And being house poor is actually the fastest way to never prospering economically. Okay, so now let's talk inflation. If you didn't buy a home before 2022, I feel for you. So you can see here monthly payments on the median home have doubled since before the pandemic, okay? So if you take a look at this chart, red is 2022, yellow is 2023, blue is 2024, and green, we're at September 28th. We're looking at $2,590 per month at 6.2% interest. I know this is kind of hard to see, especially if you're on a smaller device, Obviously, watch my videos horizontally or watch them on a TV or a computer screen. So again, this is the mortgage payment on the 4-week rolling average of the median asking price. You can see how it's skyrocketed, you guys. We went from basically $1,600 a month almost all the way to $2,600. And if you look back in May, we're almost at $3,000 a month up here, or actually $2,800. So that's actually kind of crazy. But if you look at this is the CPI index for all urban consumers. We're looking at new vehicles and U.S. city average. So take a look at 2016. So the index is being set from 1982 to 1984 at 100. If you look at basically 2015, 2016-ish, we're at 147. If you look at peak 2023, we're at 180, okay? So the average new car is up 22%. Groceries, higher than that. Insurance, higher than that. Everything costs more except things that are typically tied to technology. So look at like TVs, for example. I can go to Costco and get a razor thin 98-inch TV that costs like $2,000, okay? Before, if you wanted a big screen TV, some of you that are older may remember these, it's taking up a third of your living room. It's huge. It's £1 million, and it's also $5,000-6,000, 20, 30 years ago. So even though wages have kept up with inflation on average, in some cases, that's not for everyone, okay? The people who have done well are the ones who own assets. This is what I've been talking about on my channel forever. Again, remember, cash is trash, especially right now since the M2 money supply is going through the roof. That's why people with stocks, they are the ones that are benefiting, okay? Stocks, real estate, Bitcoin. So if you don't own assets, you're basically treading water, if not getting your purchasing power lost due to inflation. So here's something that what I do for a living actually contributes to some of this. As personal finance creators, we usually talk about lifestyle inflation a lot, okay? So again, you need to save more than you make. That's common sense, right? Whether you're a professional athlete or, the janitor at a school, okay, and everyone in between. So most people think lifestyle inflation is the enemy, but it's not necessarily. If you're making more money, it's fine to spend more, okay? I just got back from Spain. I was in Madrid. I was in Sevilla. It was unbelievable. I went to Atletico versus Real 5-2. I went to a million games. It was awesome. But you need to grow your savings rate lock in step with what your income is, okay? So where people get in trouble, it's when their expectations grow faster than their income. It's I deserve the bigger house. I deserve a new truck every 3 years. I deserve a trip to, whatever every summer. So if you can afford that easily, you can do that through my bucket system. Again, if you want to spend money on traveling, set up an automatic payment system based on your monthly surplus to go into a travel bucket. If you want a diamond ring for engagement. I don't know. I'm just making this up. Create buckets and contribute to it. That way you can afford the thing. If you have $1,000 in your travel bucket, you're going to Myrtle Beach, if that. Okay, you're going down the street, okay, based on how expensive everything is today. If you have $15,000 in your travel bucket, you can go to wherever you want, right? So merit has nothing to do with it. The only question that matters is, can you afford it while still saving and investing? So if your burn rate is higher than your income, it doesn't matter how much you make, okay? You're still going to feel behind. So please keep that in mind. Also, you need to protect you and your family's wealth, and the best way to do that is through today's sponsor, Policy Genius. Real financial success isn't just about making as much money as possible. The smartest families know how to protect it. I use life insurance to protect my wealth, yet 72% of Americans overestimate how much it actually costs. A lot of people put it off. I get it. Life insurance doesn't feel urgent until it is, but let me make it easy for you. Policy Genius makes finding and buying life insurance simple. They help ensure your loved ones have a financial safety net to cover debts, living expenses, or just keep life moving forward if the worst were to happen. With Policy Genius, you can see if you can find 20-year life insurance policies starting at just $276 a year for $1 million in coverage. It's an easy way to protect the people you love and feel good about the future. Some options are even 100% online, and you can skip the medical exam. That's a win in my book. So here's what I like the most. Policy Genius lets you compare quotes from top insurers in just a few clicks, so you know you're getting the best deal. Their licensed agents aren't there to upsell you. They walk you through everything, they handle the paperwork, and they answer your questions with zero pressure. And if you're relying only on the policy through your job, be careful, because it might not be enough, and it probably won't follow you if you leave. This is a piece of financial planning that too many people overlook, but it's one of the most important. So if you're a parent, caregiver, spouse, or just someone who wants to leave behind peace of mind, make this the year you check life insurance off your list. Secure your family's future with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/whiteboardfinance or click the link in the description to compare free life insurance quotes from top companies and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/whiteboardfinance. The other thing about social media, and I think social media is an ultimate net negative. When I stopped doing YouTube, I'm deleting everything. Some of you already asked me. I've deleted my Twitter. I deleted it months ago. I had maybe 18,000, 20,000 followers on there. I can't remember. But I deleted that. That was a very old account. I don't care. I'm trying my best to get out of the matrix. The reason for that is because we live in such a hyper information age that you're constantly getting bombarded by other things, whether it's social media, whether it's information, whether it's people, flexing their portfolios, their vacations, their homes. That's why I don't really show my portfolio much on here anymore. It's just, it doesn't mean anything. They're just zeros, you guys. All that matters is the percentage that you're getting back from your ROI, from your return on investment. And as long as you're beating inflation and maintaining or increasing your purchasing power, that's all that really matters. Anyone can, throw a bunch of money in a portfolio and flex all their extra commas and extra zeros and say, I'm the best, right? All that matters is overall return. So it's never been easier to benchmark yourself to someone doing better than yourself. And that constant comparison makes it impossible to feel rich, even though you objectively are in certain ways. So here's the elephant in the room that I want to address. I've been talking about this a lot in this channel. It's basically, I don't want to use this word because it's kind of like a stupid, loaded word. Inequality, equality. It's a dumb word. What I'm trying to say is you need to look at the haves and the have-nots, because the top 10% of Americans, they own the majority of assets, okay? So you can see here, America's top 1% holds almost as much as the bottom 90. And then I'll show you this chart here next. But basically, if you're in the top 10%, you're basically in the top 1% globally. But you're obviously in America, okay? You probably just feel like you're one rung away from real wealth, even though that could be, being locked in a job for 30 years, right? You never really get there. However, objectively speaking, the top 10%, they want to be the top 5%. Top 5% want to be the top 1%. Top 1% wants to be the top 0.1%. It's a never-ending eggplant measuring contest, okay? You have a 20-foot boat, the other guy's got a 30, the other guy's got 150. It never ends. That's why you need to be content. If you guys don't know the joke about like the Mexican fisherman and the industrialist guy, I don't want to talk about it too much, but basically it's a never-ending process of, why don't you get a net? Oh, why would I do that? So you can catch more fish. Why don't you get a boat? Oh, why would I want to do that? So you can catch bigger fish. Why would I want to do that? Oh, so you can open up a fishery and start breeding fish. Why would I want to do that? Well, then you can make a bunch of money and then retire and do whatever you want to do. And the Mexican guy goes, well, I'm doing that right now. I'm already fishing. I'm doing what I want to do. So at the end of the day, you guys, feeling rich has less to do with your net worth and more to do with your mindset. So if your happiness depends on out-earning, outspending, or out-flexing the next guy, you're never going to win. You're never going to be happy. My mantra on this channel has always been the golden middle. Find the golden middle, okay? You don't need to, have the biggest boat. You don't need to have the nicest car. You don't have to have the, biggest house in the world. If that's something you want, by all means, go for it. Make it a goal and check that box and get that thing. But I'm definitely a firm believer in the golden middle in terms of, stress levels, sleeping, eating right, health, family, friends, community, having time to actually volunteer and be part of your community. I think a lot of people are getting lost in this digital age where they just kind of turn into hermits, either in the cubicle or at work or at home. The whole point of being a country or a society is interacting with one another and having shared values, okay? And in order to do that, you can't just be a wage slave all day long. So if you own your time and if you live below your means, whether your means are $1 million a year or 10 grand a year, and you invest consistently, you're already wealthier than 99% of the planet. So that's the truth. Even though in this country, sometimes we feel like we're not a country anymore. We just feel like, oh, I got to refresh my portfolio. I got to check my net worth. I got to do better than the next guy, right? We need to become a society again and love thy neighbor, if that makes sense, okay? So do your best to do that. Forget about refreshing your portfolio. How about you call your grandma? Okay, how about you call your grandfather? How about you call your parents? Why don't you go hang out with your family or your friends? Do that instead of just aimlessly scrolling on social media. So if you found this video valuable, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. You're like, why is this guy talking so much? Make sure to subscribe or unsubscribe. You will not be missed. Check out Whiteboard Finance University. It's my private community. It's been up and running for about 2.5 years now. Ton of alpha, ton of value in there. I love it. It's a very tight-knit community. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, have a prosperous day. Oh, Grandma, you fell down again? Hold on. I'm just checking my Charles Schwab portfolio here. Yes, 0.3%. Yes.